Hello, everybody. If you are here and live with me, please say hi in the chat box. Let me know that you're here and that you can see me and that you can hear me, the most important part. We have a lot of people registered for tonight. It's so awesome. Hi, Angelia. Angelia, that's a really pretty name. All right. I'm just checking in some tech here, making sure that everything's running good. Hi, Carol and Anna. Hi, Anna. Just checking in with my assistant. She's running things on the other end. Just want to make sure that everything is going really good. So can you guys see me and hear me? So let me double check. Sorry, guys. Just bear with me. Technology. Shelly, hello. Fabiola, hello. So just say yes. Type yes in the chat box that you can see me and hear me. Okay, so Vanessa, my assistant, cannot see me or hear me. Okay, Oh, yes, so yes, you can, okay. Let me see. Oh, I can hear and see you. Hi, Laura, okay. Whoa, this is moving fast. Hold on one second, guys. I'm trying to respond here. Okay, so I think we're all good. So we haven't started yet. It's 7:03. We haven't officially started yet. I've got some great slides that I'm going to put up with for you guys. Okay, great. You can see me and you can hear me. Awesome. I think there was a little bit of a delay there. So thank you, everybody, for your patience and for bearing with me through this, because doing webinars, I mean, there's always some tech issues and things that we always want to make sure that we work through. So I think we're good. This is great. So thank you for being with me tonight. 7 o'clock. It's probably many of your dinner time. So I appreciate you being here with me and really wanting to dive into stress and weight and hormonal health, areas that I deal with in my private practice and with my online clients. And I want to be able to share this information and knowledge with you guys so that you can really have the support to move forward and start to transform and heal your body. Okay, so I think we're good. It's 7:04. I'm going to switch the screen here in a second to put my slides on. Before we get started, let me share a few things with you. This is my zinc spray. This is the spray that I use every time I do webinars or every time I do a presentation or anything like that, because talking for so long can really make my throat super dry. And so I really love this zinc spray. It's really good because it contains slippery elm, and slippery elm actually helps to coat the throat. It feels so good when you spray this. I love this, and I always travel with it too. And then I've got my Fixer Elixir. This is a delicious juice from the Fix & Co. Grapefruit, cucumber, turmeric, and a little bit of maple syrup. It's so good. So this is what I got going on here while I present to you guys. All right, so let's get started. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. It's really amazing that you're here. So many of you showed up live tonight, which is so incredible. And it just means a lot to me to be able to share this information with you. And it means so much more knowing that you're here live, showing up because you want to know this information, and clearly you're not getting the results that you want and you're looking for those solutions. So I hope that what I can share with you tonight It's really going to give you some deeper insights to really get those results you're looking for. Okay, so bear with me while I just change up the screen here. I'm going to put my slides up and we'll get started. Just a second. Oh, the slides are up. Please let me know that you can see them. And that's really important. Before I get started, I want to know that you guys can actually see it. Are we good? I'm just going to maximize my screen space. Okay. Yes, you can see. Yes, we can see the slides. Okay, that is music to my ears. Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. So let's dive in. I got so much information to share with you guys. I hope I don't talk really fast. I often do because I feel like there is just so much to share and I feel like I really want to be in integrity with time here. So I end up talking really fast. So if I am, just slow me down. So let's get started. And for those of you who are new to me and my brand and maybe perhaps my website, or just are unfamiliar with who I am and what I do, like who is this Samantha girl? So let me share a little bit about who I am and what it is that I do. So I'm an online nutritionist and I've actually been practicing for over 12 years now. And I've worked in the health and wellness industry for a really long time. And I would coach clients, here and there while working in health food stores and all of that. And then I now full-time work 100% online with all of my clients, which is really great. So I coach women all over Canada and all over the US. And I specialize in weight loss and women's hormonal health. So through my metabolic weight loss program, that is where many of my women and coaching clients sign up with me to do that program. It is a wonderful program for anybody who has 20 plus pounds to lose, is dealing with any type of blood sugar imbalances or insulin resistance, diabetes, PCOS, infertility. It's really about addressing weight from a hormonal perspective. So regardless, even if you don't have diabetes and it's just a weight issue, there is always some underlying hormonal issue. So maybe it could be issues with estrogen and thyroid and metabolism. That program is really specifically about addressing those hormones. It's a wonderful program. And that's really what I do online and with my coaching clients. So specializing weight loss and women's hormonal health. So from everything from PMS to PCOS to infertility, and definitely thyroid health and Hashimoto's and some underlying autoimmune issues. I'm also an ontological coach. Many people don't actually know this about me. And ontology, if you're unfamiliar with that word, ontology is the study of being. So this is actually where I've been putting a lot of my focus in the past 2 to 3 years. I have my own personal coach myself. And really, it's truly about addressing things beyond the plate, right? Which is what I learned, obviously, coaching with clients for so many years. It's not just about the food. It's really about the mental and emotional health. And my job is to really help my clients become emotionally intelligent and to build that emotional intelligence and to understand why certain habits and behaviors keep showing up in our lives that are causing us to self-sabotage, that are causing us to play really small and to not show up fully in the way that we really are meant to. And so that's really what ontology is. I guess you could say it's a fancy word for life coaching, but that ultimately is what I do with a lot of my clients. So it's not just about the food, but it really is about something deeper there. I'm also a holistic self-dentistry specialist. So for those of you who may be unfamiliar with my love of teeth, yes, this is true. I love teeth. And many years ago, I reversed my own cavity, which led me to create my own toothpaste and dental products. And I kind of put together this sort of system that I was using to support my cavity and reverse it. And sure enough, I, reversed my cavity. I went to the dentist, and when I first found out I had the cavity, I was like, what are you talking about, a cavity? I had never had a cavity my whole life. And so there was just this really innate feeling that, okay, I could go home and heal this. I know this can naturally be healed. Like a cavity, it develops from something deeper. So what is really going on here? What's the root of this? And so I really went home and did a lot of my research and started looking at more at ingredients and essential oils and things and products, and trying to create my own products and dental products. And sure enough, Salty Kisses toothpaste was born, and my hippie floss oil. Some of you may be familiar with this, and all that info and all those products are available on my site, so you can go and check that out. But yes, I really love teeth, and it's quite amazing receiving pictures of people's smiles telling me how great they love the products and how much of a difference it's made. I'm also an author, so there are many books available on my site. These are all digital products, and so there is nothing physical, which we're in the process of working on that. But there are many books that are on my site: meal plans, The Qualitarian Life, and the Healthy Desserts book. Those are two of my babies, I would say. If you're looking to get any of the ebooks on my site, I did most of my own photography for those. And The Qualitarian Life is, I think, a 200-page ebook. Half of that ebook actually focuses on, lifestyle changes with sleep and hormones and sex and food and all the fun stuff. And then the other half is actually recipes. And then, of course, I'm a self-proclaimed foodie. How can I not be? I spend so much time in the kitchen and doing a lot of recipe development. And I'm sure if you follow me online and on Instagram, you see me post tons of food photos, because, of course, I really love to help women balance their hormones and lose weight with delicious food. So it's important that I can get some recipe creation going for my clients. And then, of course, lastly, I'm a qualitarian. And this is a random term that kind of came to me one day. I feel like a lot of people assume just because I'm a nutritionist, I am either vegan or I'm raw or I'm paleo or I'm vegetarian. And ultimately, I'm all of those things. What matters to me is the quality of my food. And I would hope for all of us to become qualitarians. So, there are 7 billion people on this planet, which means there are 7 billion types of diets. And so it's truly about finding what works best for you. And when you find that, it's just about choosing the best quality. So that's what qualitarian means. So please feel free to go and use that and start sharing the qualitarian message. I am also a cat lover. This is my little guy. His name is Monkey Boo. I love him to pieces. He is actually an Asian leopard. So he's a mini Asian leopard. He is wild, super busy, crazy, so much energy. I often joke how it would be easier for me to have a baby that I could actually go and put in the crib and walk away from and let sleep, versus this little guy who's super busy and literally climbs the doors. He knows how to turn on and off the lights. He opens the cupboards. He's a really, really busy guy, but he's incredibly entertaining, and I love him to pieces. So tonight we're not talking about cats, as much as I would love to. We are talking about hormones and stress and weight and how this all is connected. So before we get into that, I really want to share about my hormone story so that you guys can really have this understanding about how these issues, symptoms, diseases happen in our body. And I'm sure many of us are experiencing certain symptoms and issues. And perhaps that's why you came on this webinar tonight. Perhaps you're dealing with excess weight gain or menstrual irregularities. Maybe you have fibroids or endometriosis, or maybe you're just running on empty and you have extreme fatigue and perhaps inflammation on your body now that is causing you to struggle to go up and down the stairs or get in and out of your car, and your quality of life is starting to degrade. And that is why you're here, because you're something needs to change. And so whatever we are experiencing right now, for most of us, it is something that happened many, many, many years ago. It is something that has been building in our system. And so this is why I really want to highlight my hormone story. And mine began at birth. I was a C-section baby and I was formula fed. So if you are a C-section baby, you do not pass through the birth canal and you do not pick up all that good bacteria. The number one thing that actually builds your digestion and your immune system. And then I was formula fed. Luckily, back then, 34 years ago, we didn't have the crazy amounts of pesticides and herbicides that we now have. I would say formula was perhaps maybe a little bit safer, cleaner back then than it is now. But again, I didn't get, mom's healthy breast milk that has all that amazing fat and nutrients that really supports and builds a baby's body, right? Builds them, and supports that immune system, supports that digestion. And so it really does start from birth, and it's important to really go and do some tracking and investigating. Were you a C-section baby? Because that can really explain a lot of things. If you suffer with digestive issues and a lot of immunosuppressant issues, immune system issues, it definitely can be from literally birth. And then, of course, I was put on a lot of prescription drugs as a kid. And if I had any type of infection or anything happening, a sneeze, a cough, or whatever it might be, my parents would put me on these over-the-counter meds, or maybe I'd go on antibiotics or the Benadryl. They did what they knew best. This is not about pointing the fingers and saying you did something wrong. When we know better, we do better. And so for my parents, they just wanted to keep me healthy, and that's what they knew. They didn't know another way. That was what they knew, how to keep me strong and healthy, was to use this medicine that was available to them. And so prescription drugs, of course, damage the microbiome, the gut, all that good bacteria in your gut, where your immune system lives. And so again, it's breaking down how you digest and absorb food, how your immune system responds to different types of invaders. And then as I got older, around 16, I went on the pill for about 7 to 8 years. And this was just, quote unquote, to regulate my cycle, to support my hormones, and to really, help with my cramping and whatnot. But that's not really what it did. In fact, now, as of course, I've been off the pill for a very long time now, but, when I went and studied nutrition and I went to school for nutrition, literally within that first month, once I had learned about the birth control pill and got some deeper insight into hormones, I immediately got off the pill. And I was lucky that I got my period back the next month, and my cycle has been regular ever since. But that's because I had to do a lot of work before that. I was taking a lot of supplements. I was cleaning up my diet. I was supporting liver detoxification, which is important because your liver metabolizes your hormones. And so again, the pill, another hit to my gut health, another hit to my immune system. The pill completely shuts down ovulation, which is how you produce estrogen and progesterone. In fact, it increases your chances of becoming insulin resistant, which can lead to polycystic ovarian syndrome. So my work as a practitioner is to get women off of the pill as quickly as I possibly can, because it is so damaging for our health. And then I caught a parasite on vacation. Not pretty. I was in Mexico I think maybe it was Cuba actually. And I kind of think back to what it was I ate. I can see it so clearly in my head. And I'm like, I know it was the fish that was left out in this bucket in the sun. I shouldn't have eaten it. And literally it was a few days later when I got home, it really hit me. And it was a good 6 to 8 weeks. I could barely eat anything, no matter what went into my system. It just killed my stomach. And at that time, I really was struggling. I was nutrient deprived as well, because whatever came in was going right out of my system. And so I had to go on some antiparasitics and some antifungals, while at the same time using some really great natural therapies as well. And that was a process to really get over. But again, here we are. Another impact to my gut health, another impact to my immune system. And then, of course, fast forward a few years, about 4 or 5 years ago now, where I'm starting to run and own my own business. And I've been an entrepreneur now for about just over 4 years. And again, I've been in this industry for a very long time. I've been coaching for 12 years, but full time as an entrepreneur now, just over 4. And there's stress with that. I love what I do. I'm so excited to wake up every day and do the work that I do, and to be able to connect with my community and build my community it's so heartwarming. I love it every day. However, there is stress that comes with that. Like I am, I have an assistant, but more than that, it's really just me running everything here. And your body can't differentiate between you running from some saber-toothed tiger or you having a to-do list of 25 things going through your head. It's all the same stressor to your body. Your body just can't tell the difference. It is all stress. And having a very busy brain with a crazy to-do list is just like running from a saber-toothed tiger. So stress, mental, emotional stress does have a huge impact on our health. It's not just physical stress and physical trauma. It all affects our health. And then of course, this has now all led to me developing Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune condition. And so for some of you who may be unfamiliar with that, Hashimoto's is basically your immune system goes on attack mode. And in my case, what it's doing is it's attacking my thyroid. And so it's an underlying autoimmune condition that is now damaging my thyroid. And so I've been experiencing issues with definitely energy depletion and with like mental sort of fog and memory. And I was starting to even feel it in my joints a little bit too. And this is going back till last year when I was just like, something is not right in my body. And this is what's key. Many of us say that to ourselves and we know something isn't right. We hear these tiny little whispers, but we don't pay attention to them. We just think, oh, this is what happens when you age. This is what happens when you're in your 30s. This is what happens when you're in your 40s. Oh, my hormones are out of balance. But we don't actually dive in and do the work and do the investigation. And then 20 years go by, and now to reverse something like that would be, it's so incredibly hard and challenging. But I'm really in tune with my body, and I know that something isn't right here, and I didn't wait. I took the action and I went to do the investigation and do the testing, which I just knew was Hashimoto. I knew it from the beginning. The second I started to feel those symptoms, I'm like, oh, I know what this is. I know exactly what this is. And sure enough, my testing came back and that's what it was, autoimmune Hashimoto's. And so you can see now, looking back on my history, all of these issues damaging my gut and then adding stress. What do you think is the root cause of my Hashimoto's? It's digestion and stress. And then of course with stress, it now affects your sleep, and then you're not sleeping well, and you're not recovering well, and starting to affect melatonin, which is another hormone. And now it starts this cascade effect where your body definitely starts to kind of break down. And so in my case, Hashimoto's developed from that. There is also autoimmunity genetically that runs in my family. So I have to be really conscious for the rest of my life to manage autoimmune symptoms and issues. I always have to. It's always going to be there. And luckily, I supplement very well. Luckily, I move my body and I have exercise in my life and part of my routine. Luckily, I eat incredibly well and super clean and organic and quality foods. Now I got to level things up and really focus on more stress management and really leveling up with some other therapies that is really going to help heal and transform my body. So tonight, we are talking about your hormone story, and we're going to talk about the hormones that are causing you to feel fat, fatigued, and inflamed. We're also going to dive into the strategies because that's the most important part. We're going to dive into these proven strategies for reducing stress. We're going to dive into those foods that are causing the hormonal imbalances, the fatigue, and the weight gain. I have a feeling you know what those foods are, and we're just going to dive into what they are. There are 3 in particular. And then I really want to address some of the best foods that you can incorporate to support your weight loss goals, to fix your fatigue, and to support your gut health. Because I'm sure we've all heard it before that the root cause of many issues, it lies in our gut. So first things first, it is about addressing the root cause. And I really want you to pay attention as you're going through this webinar and as you're listening. What do you think is your root cause? Where do you think your issue stemmed from? Go all the way back to childhood. As far as you can think back, I really want you to start paying attention to where you think these issues may have started to develop. So we're diving into the hormonal Charlie's Angels tonight. Cortisol, estrogen, and thyroid, three very powerful hormones in your body that dictate pretty much everything. Your stress hormone, cortisol, estrogen is a sex hormone, and thyroid, it governs your metabolism. And when cortisol is out of whack and dysregulated, can you guess what's going to happen? It's going to impact your estrogen and it's going to impact your thyroid. So it's a really important hormone that we address for healing. So let's look at cortisol a little bit in more detail, because this is a very smart, no nonsense, strategic thinking hormone. And you may have experienced cortisol at work before. Perhaps you've been driving along in your car one day and you see a crazy person driving towards you, and oh my God, this is a traumatic situation. You got to avoid this crash that could potentially happen. It's life-threatening. Cortisol and adrenaline come to work. They come to save you. It alerts your nervous system to threats. It will increase your blood sugar. You will have heightened memory and attention. Perhaps you will start to sweat and you will get an increase in your blood pressure. You will actually have decreased sensitivity to pain. I'm sure we've experienced that before, where something traumatic has happened and we've actually hurt ourselves, but the pain, the true pain, doesn't come on until like an hour later. And then it decreases our serotonin because, of course, if we're dealing with a traumatic event, somebody driving towards us that potentially might crash into us and take our life, we're not going to be happy. We're not going to have serotonin surging through our system. No, that's going to shut down, as well as our immune system, because our immune system at that point doesn't need to go to work because we need to focus on saving ourselves. That's what cortisol is. And it comes into play to literally rescue you. That's exactly what it's doing. And like I said earlier, it can't tell between a saber-toothed tiger that's chasing you or a potentially a to-do list or a car accident, or it's all the same thing to your immune system. And I'm sorry, to your body, to your adrenal glands. So we really want to keep cortisol in check because it's so powerful. It regulates other hormones in our body. And more specifically, it actually supports our blood sugar. When your cortisol is high and you're stressed, I can guarantee the last thing you say to yourself is, ooh, I just really feel like eating a delicious kale salad right now. You probably don't say that. You're probably like, oh my God, I want to eat carbs. I want to eat pizza. I want a bowl full of pasta. Like, that's probably what you're saying. You want to eat chocolate. You want to eat sweets, candies, because high cortisol will raise your insulin. And when you have high cortisol and you have high insulin, guess what happens? You store more fat on your body. Cortisol and insulin are fat storing hormones, and they will store fat on your body, particularly around your waist and also even in the hip area. That's what cortisol and insulin do. So it's really important that we manage these two hormones if we want to support our weight and lose weight. So in my private practice, when I'm coaching my clients, the two hormones that we're really looking at addressing first and foremost are cortisol and insulin. And oftentimes people think, oh, I don't have issues with insulin. That's something that diabetics deal with. No, we all have insulin. We all have blood sugar imbalances. And we really want to optimize balancing out that blood sugar, because in turn, it will have a direct effect on cortisol, which in turn will mean we start to lose weight. And I mean lose weight like more effortlessly than you have before when you really start to manage your insulin. So let's look at this next slide, which you might be thinking, oh my God, this is crazy. Is she taking us back to like biology class? I'm definitely not. So I simply want to explain this to you. So don't panic. This isn't going to be some crazy biology lesson. So what I really want you to look at here is, well, the brain. And in the brain, we have our hypothalamus and our pituitary. And then down on the left side, we have our adrenal cortex. So our adrenals communicate to our brain. And just like I mentioned earlier, where you may be in this potential life-threatening situation of a car coming your way and might crash into you, well, of course, that's life-threatening. Your adrenals ask your brain, the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, to give it some cortisol so that it can now protect you. But what happens is we're not dealing with just a potential car accident. And that may be a one-off, don't get me wrong. But what we're actually dealing with is a job that we actually hate, and we wake up and we go to every single day, and we hate our boss, and we hate the amount of work that we do, and we're so overwhelmed, and we come home and we bring our work home, and then we can't spend time with our kids, and God forbid we, put the work aside and actually be present with people, and we can't even think about dinner because there's no time for that because you got to do the work, and then you also got to put the kids to bed, and so you got to order in because that's just the simplest thing to do because there's no time. Or we are dealing with relationship stressors and marriage stressors, and of course, kids and work and bills, all of it, right? I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. And if you can relate, then share that. Say, yes, I can absolutely relate, because I know so many of us are stuck in sort of this hamster wheel, and we feel like, oh my God, is this ever going to end? Like, is this ever going to get better? Am I ever going to have this sense of freedom and joy and happiness in my life that I'm so after and longing for, but I just can't find? And it feels like it's so far away to even get that. Or we think when we retire, that's when we can feel those things. But ultimately, we want to feel those things now. And if you even want to enjoy your retirement, you absolutely need to feel those things now and put those things into place now, because when retirement comes, you will have to spend your time on sickness, not on healthcare. So what's happening here is that we're dealing with all these everyday stressors that the adrenals get so overwhelmed, they forget to communicate to the brain and say, hey, we have enough cortisol, we're done. We don't need any more. You can stop now. So the brain keeps sending your adrenal glands cortisol all day long, all day long, all day long. And this can go on for years. 20 plus years, 30 plus years, until finally one day your brain will say, listen, I'm so done with you right now. I am not giving you any more cortisol. I have got brain fog. My memory is failing me. I'm done here. I just can't. Like, you've exhausted us. So you tend to go, and you can fluctuate even in a day from going really high cortisol to really low cortisol. So this is where you will experience like adrenal fatigue. And so many of us, or adrenal burnout, have experienced this. And you can't wake up in the morning, and you just feel exhausted all freaking day long. And so this is what's happening. There is a miscommunication or lack of communication that is literally happening between the adrenals and the hip and the brain. And we really got to slow down that process and be really more conscious of it, because when we think of things like Alzheimer's isn't just some disease that, happens in your 70s or your 80s or your 90s. Like, that's an old person's disease. That's often what I hear. It actually starts to develop 30 to 40 years prior to it's even diagnosed. So when we want to support our brain, ultimately, we really want to support our adrenal glands. Because yes, it really does start to affect the brain and wear down the brain. And I know that's scary to think about, but it's the truth. And it's really important we know this. Because like I said earlier, when we know better, we can do better. So what are some risks of having dysregulated cortisol? Well, diabetes, because it has a direct impact on your insulin levels. And in turn, this will increase abdominal fat. Or you may develop things like metabolic syndrome, where you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, potentially obese, insulin resistant, all of that. And that's really metabolic syndrome. You may experience depression, autoimmune conditions like myself, right? I'm dealing with, now I'm lucky that my cortisol isn't through the roof by any means, but it still needs to be brought back into balance for sure. It definitely, my adrenals really do need that extra support. Autoimmune conditions like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, MS. There's so many autoimmune conditions, psoriasis, delayed wound healing. You may cut yourself, bruise yourself, and find that it's taking a really long time for you to heal. Infertility. This is a really big one. When you are stressed, the last thing your body is going to do is to produce sex hormones. That's not going to happen. You need to your body cannot deal with supporting a baby. It needs to deal with the actual stressor that's happening in your body. So it shuts down the sex hormones. PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. This is a big one that I deal with in my private practice. And again, it's because cortisol directly can impact your insulin levels, and insulin resistance is tied to PCOS. And then the last one is that it can really accelerate your aging, and it shows up on your skin, on your face. I know many of us have probably seen this over the years where it's like one day you look in the mirror and you look, it's fine. And literally it can be overnight where you're just like, where did all this happen? Like, where do these gray hairs come from? Where do these extra wrinkles come from? That can definitely be signs of stress wearing down your system. Now, what about the joy of cortisol? I know I wrote a lot on this slide, which I don't typically like to do, but I really wanted you to see all the good stuff that you truly can experience. And I want to hear from you. Who wants to experience the joy of cortisol imbalance? Give me a hell yes, because I'm sure we all want to feel calm, cool, and collected. And we want to bounce out of bed in the morning, having slept through the night with no disturbances and no bags under our eyes when we get up, feeling like we have to put all this makeup and conceal it. We actually eat and crave nutrient-dense food, because when cortisol is imbalanced, insulin is imbalanced, and it means we don't have those sugar cravings. So sugar, you can actually take it or leave it. Thank you to cortisol being in balance. It means you have less sugar cravings and carb cravings. You feel more buoyant and positive and upbeat. In fact, you can even go 4 to 6 hours between your meals without feeling shaky, irritable, or low in blood sugar. If anyone is on this webinar right now and you've been following me for a long time, you know I take out snacking. I do not agree with snacking. The more you eat throughout the day, the more you spike your insulin levels. And so we want to minimize that. So you should be eating 3 meals a day, and you should be able to go 4 to 6 hours between your meals without feeling crazy and hangry and irritable. You should be able to do that. That is a sign of having cortisol and insulin in balance. When you face stress, you actually don't recoil in horror. You feel calm and cool, and you feel like it's all good and it's all figure outable. And lastly, you can actually recall where you put your keys and even your children, because it affects the brain. Stress will really impair your memory, and it will give you that brain fog. And so when you have cortisol imbalance, you actually can recall things better, and your memory is really on point. Who wants this? I really want to hear from you guys. Please share in the message. It's so quiet in that chat box. Yes, who wants to experience the joys of cortisol? Really want to hear from you guys. I want to know that it's all good. Is no comments a good thing? Okay. Let's move on to thyroid. So your thyroid is what really gives you, yes, please, Laura. Yes, thank you for sharing that. Yes, we want our cortisol in balance, right? Angela, she does too. Awesome. I'm sure we all want that. That is what we want for ourselves. We want that feeling. That is how we want to feel every day. So let's talk about our thyroid, because I'm sure you also want to feel this way. You want to feel energetic. You want to feel healthy and slim and happy and sexy, right? This is what we want. And this is truly what we desire in our life. Your thyroid governs your metabolism in your body. So yes, if there are issues happening with weight, then oftentimes you do want to look at thyroid and see if there's any underlying issues there. And nowadays, with 1 in 3 women being diagnosed with Hashimoto's, it's even more important that we start testing our thyroid and really doing a full, complete, thorough thyroid panel. That is very important. So when I say metabolism, that doesn't just mean your weight, but it governs the metabolism of your ovaries. So this is important for fertility, and it governs the metabolism of just essentially how things are moving through your system. So it actually can impact constipation. What would do a thyroid? So who would do a thyroid panel? Great question, Laura. You can go to your doctor and ask for a thyroid panel. However, your doctor, and maybe Vanessa, you can type this out for me when I say what the labs are, but your doctor, the labs that are needed for a full thyroid panel, typically your doctor isn't going to do all of them, which is really unfortunate, because just testing your TSH is going to tell you nothing. Nothing. It won't tell you a thing. You will not know what is truly going on with your thyroid unless you do all of the testing. Typically, If you have a great doctor that will do it for you, wonderful. They'll test all of it, great. If your doctor doesn't run all the tests, then typically you do need to go to a naturopath and pay for it out of pocket. It may cost you just over $200 to run that panel. And yes, right, you had TSH tested and nothing. So you want to get your TSH done, but you also want to test here, actually, I'll write it out. So TSH, your free T3, your free T4, your reverse T3, which is really what is your fat burning hormone. And then you want to test the antibodies. So anti-TPO and anti-TG. Write that down. If there's one thing you take from this tonight, it's that. And if you go to your doctor and you ask for those tests and they say, oh, I'll only do, a few of them. No, you demand for it, because you cannot know anything of what's going on with your thyroid if you don't have those tests. Once you have those tests, ask for a copy of those results and go work with a qualified practitioner, because your doctor isn't going to give you the solutions for healing that. I had a client come to me and her antibodies were over 1,000 and the doctor said, oh yeah, you're fine. That's Hashimoto's. That is like severe autoimmunity. My antibodies were at close to 600. And in the past few months, I've been working really hard on bringing those down, because no, it is all fixable. It's all reversible. And they've dropped about 50 points, which is huge. So most people, it actually can take years before their thyroid antibodies drop. So you need to work with a qualified practitioner. And in fact, like working with someone with myself, like I get it. I'm going through it myself. So I'm very clear on what to do and what not to do. So it's really important that you find the practitioner that is really going to support you on that. Okay, so thyroid, let's move on. So let's talk about dysregulated thyroid and what you're actually going to feel if your thyroid isn't in balance. So you're going to feel tired, run down, and sluggish. That is for sure. It will truly affect your energy levels. And you'll most likely have infrequent bowel movement. So you might be constipated and you may not be going every day. You may be going every few days. You may have unexplained weight gain. Here you are eating well and, moving your body and exercising, but still the weight isn't budging or the weight keeps coming on. You might be feeling cold and achy all the time, cold hands, cold feet, feeling depressed, have a puffy face. It's literally just like this inflammation that is showing up on your face and just generally on your body, this like feeling of puffiness. That's kind of how I can explain it. That just isn't sitting very well on you and on your body. Like you just feel uncomfortable literally in your own skin. And you may experience excessive menstrual bleeding. Now, the truth is this may go either way. It can either be really heavy bleeding and really heavy flow, or it could be the opposite, especially if your estrogen is low, where you don't have a really heavy flow, and it's a very, very light flow and may only last a day or two. So it can go either way. So when your thyroid is in balance, what will you feel like? Hold on, I see some questions coming up here. What do you call the antibody tests? So they're written there for you, anti-TPO and anti-TG. Don't worry about like the crazy, ridiculous long names for them. You just need to ask for anti-TPO and anti-TG. That's what's really important. Okay, let me go back here. Sounds familiar from the Ultimate Health Podcast? Yes, Marnie and Jesse. They are awesome. Yeah, they've interviewed some really great experts on there for thyroid health, which is really great. Okay, so when your thyroid is in balance, what are you going to feel? So you're going to feel energetic. You are going to think more clearly because you won't have that crazy brain fog happening. You will be able to manage your weight easier. Losing weight will be easier. I work with so many women who have hypothyroid, which is low thyroid, and they lose weight working with me. And they haven't been able to for years because they've been told they have thyroid issues and the weight's not going to come off. But that's not the issue. But that's not the case. When we start to address the cortisol and the insulin and the thyroid, and we just get everything moving and working synergistically, the weight can come off. Thyroid imbalance will mean that you actually have bowel movements every 12 to 24 hours. I would even just say every 12 hours, not 24 hours. You have them more frequently, literally every single day, if not twice a day. You actually have a full set of eyebrows and your hair isn't falling out. So if you have the outer third part of your eyebrows that's falling out or that's thinning, that can be a sign of thyroid issues. And you have healthy hair that actually stays on your head and you're not pulling it out in clumps. You also have moist skin and strong nails, really important sign of healthy thyroid balance. And you have a desire to have sex. You actually have a really healthy libido, and then a very crystal clear memory and no fog. Thank you, Laura, for writing out those tests again. I appreciate that. Okay, let's dive into estrogen, which I like to call the sex kitten of all hormones, because really it is the sex kitten. It gives you those beautiful, amazing, awesome orgasms that you all want to experience, that we all want to experience, right? And it will boost your serotonin, which is your happy hormone. And that's essential. This is an important neurotransmitter. It's going to support your mood and your joints so that you're not like having these cracking joints all the time and these pain happening. It's also going to directly impact your sleep. So you can sleep through the night without these disturbances and constantly waking up. You will actually have a healthy appetite. None of this overeating or even none of this undereating. Like it is really in this beautiful flow and healthy balance. And a bonus, you'll have wrinkle-free skin. Now, I wouldn't say completely wrinkle-free, but you will experience less wrinkles because estrogen really supports the health and the integrity of the skin, and it keeps that acne at bay as well. And it keeps your skin moisturized from the inside out. So there are many different symptoms that may be experienced when it comes to, low or high estrogen. And a lot of these things with low and high estrogen can kind of be the same. You can kind of experience the same symptoms across the board. So something like decreased libido, you may actually have high or low estrogen. This is why testing is really important. It could really go either way. With low estrogen, you will typically have drier skin. In fact, this is why women, when they start to enter more menopausal years, there's this term that like you start to dry up. Okay. So it's like dry skin, even like vaginal lubrication. You just don't have it anymore because you're low estrogen. So there are so many things we can do to support that estrogen and bring it back in balance so that you can actually have that natural lubrication happening and not having to rely on these external lubricants. And of course, like your skin is hydrated and healthy too. You may experience increased hunger. This is often the case with low estrogen, more fatigue, more mood swings, even hot flashes. That can go with hot, low and sometimes high. Very irritable. You will experience more sleep disturbances, and you will have more headaches and migraines, and especially like cyclical ones. So like maybe around ovulation or around your cycle and around your period. And then with high, like I said, you may also have decreased libido. You typically will experience more excess weight with high estrogen. And that can typically be a detoxification issue where you're not effectively metabolizing the estrogen through your body effectively and through your bowels. You may have more irregular periods or a heavier flow and experience breast tenderness, more fibroids, definitely bloating, PMS symptoms in general, with the cramping and of course the bloating, and brain fog, which also can really be with low estrogen as well. So just some really important things I want you guys to pay attention to. I want you guys to start paying attention to these symptoms and how you're feeling, because if you are experiencing these things, and you're going to the health food store trying to wing it by buying all these random supplements or trying all these random programs, or really not investing your money into the right practitioner, like that's where you're going to get the support. That's where you're going to get the support and the help and the accountability and the coaching that you need to truly transform. Like, I know how easy it is to be like, what supplement should I take? It's not just the supplement, it's everything here. And how do we know what supplement you take if we don't actually do this deep dive into your health history and see where the underlying root issues are stemming from? So those are your hormonal Charlie's Angels, your cortisol, your thyroid, your estrogen. Your cortisol is your main stress hormone, and it is going to have a direct impact on your thyroid and your estrogen. Your thyroid will affect your metabolism and how you feel energetically. Estrogen is going to impact menstruation, your uterine lining. It's going to affect your libido. It's going to affect your cycle, your energy, your brain health, all of it. It is all interconnected. When it comes to supporting stress, when it comes to supporting weight and hormones in general, we really want to have all of our hormones in sync. That is what is really, really important. We want to get them all in sort of the right balance. They're never going to be perfect. They're always going to fluctuate a little bit here and there, which is normal, especially as women and with our cycles. That's bound to happen. But we want to do the best that we can to really bring them back to the middle, not having it sway too far left and too far right, but just somewhere right in the middle there. So I want to share some case studies with you guys. So Ella Day, 52 years old, she was one of my rock star clients that I worked with a few years back. And she was a diabetic, and she was on 2 different types of diabetic medications. She had high cholesterol, was also on cholesterol lowering meds, and she was on high blood pressure, which she was also on meds for that. And it's crazy because she had 4 different medications there, 2 diabetic ones. And think about all the side effects that happen with that. And she, there is definitely a longer story here with being divorced and a single mother now of 2 kids. And she had 2 car accidents, which led to, obviously that's a huge stressor on the body, and your body needing to repair and recover from that. So she experienced a lot of inflammation, was hypothyroid, so low thyroid function, which I'm surprised her doctor didn't put her on anything for that. Thank God, because it just would have added to this crazy list of meds, super low energy, and just issues like getting in and out of the car, getting in and out of bed, like walking up and down the stairs, not even being able to have that quality of life and just get through her day. So she came to me, she was 232 pounds. This is her before and after, like a seriously incredible transformation. She lost 56 pounds here. This was at about maybe the 7-ish, 8-month mark. And I mean, not only do you lose fat, but you actually lose toxicity and you lose inflammation. Like that literally comes off the body. So remember that puffiness that I was saying? You can see that in her before photo, and that does not exist there in her after photo. In fact, she looks like she's 10 years younger, which is just so incredible. And then we've got case study number 2. So this was Stephanie, 35 years old. She initially came to me because she had PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and dealing with infertility. So she was on the birth control pill for 15 years, and she tried conceiving for an entire year. And I know it might even not sound like a long time, because I know many women try to conceive for a really long time with no luck. But, she was really trying to conceive for a year. She got off the pill after that 15-year mark. And for one entire year, with every single cycle, she was trying to conceive, but with no luck. And it was really difficult because her cycles were completely irregular, which is what happens when you have PCOS. PCOS isn't just having cysts on your ovaries. PCOS has underlying insulin-resistant issues and high testosterone. So it completely pretty much shuts down how you're producing estrogen and progesterone. So of course, you're going to have a really hard time having a baby because your sex hormones that you really need, your estrogen and progesterone, you're not producing enough. So during that first year, she was trying to conceive and there was no luck. So her and her husband, they did IVF treatment, and she went to a fertility clinic and they had her on Clomid and, all these synthetic hormones and whatnot. And she was lucky that first try, she actually got pregnant. And so they had their first baby, Van, and then but there was always this like sense of guilt that she had, that she was like, I knew it's like this underlying knowing that I could actually do this naturally, but I couldn't. And for my second child, like I really want to conceive her naturally. And so she came to me. And, a lot of things that we cleaned up in our diet and some little tweaks that we made, obviously looking at hormones and how we can support those with certain foods, because certain foods will support the follicular stage ovulatory stage, luteal, and menstruation. And so we just really started to tweak her diet and support the detoxification process. And literally within the first month of her working with me, she got pregnant. So this is her second little guy, Gunner. And that's literally hours just on the left there after she gave birth. And then, here he is now. I think he's just about 2 now, and such a cute little guy. And they're both super healthy and happy. And she was literally able to get pregnant naturally with even having PCOS, which is completely doable. And many women who are told that they have PCOS are put on the birth control pill, which only makes it worse. And they're told that they can't conceive, and it's so not the case. And so I just really wanted to share this with you because I think it's important that we can see that, yes, this can actually be done. More about Stephanie's story and Ella Day can actually be found over on my website. So if you guys do want to dive into those deeper, you can go and check them out. But now we're almost at time here, but we're definitely going to be going over. I hope that's okay with you guys. I really want to dive into some solutions. And I want to talk about the foods to avoid and why we need to avoid them. And I have a feeling that you guys kind of knew that this is what I was going to talk about, specifically these foods: the gluten, the dairy, and the sugar. And why do we want to avoid these? Because they slow down detoxification, and detoxification is how you actually is how you metabolize your hormones. So it's essential that we eliminate these foods. It impairs our gut health. It negatively impacts our blood sugar and our insulin levels, and it increases inflammation in the body. And especially when it comes to fertility, if you have high amounts of inflammation going on, you're not going to be able to conceive. So the gluten is, I'm sure many of us have hear about it all the time now, right? I mean, gluten, it's a protein that's actually found in wheat or wheat products, and it damages the lining of the gut. It increases the inflammatory process in our body. And because it's damaging the gut, it will affect how we absorb nutrients. So you actually can't assimilate your vitamins and your minerals and your antioxidants, and your amino acids that go on and actually build your body. None of that is even happening. And 1 in 7 people are actually gluten intolerant, which is a pretty alarming number. So I'm not talking just celiac. I'm talking gluten intolerant. You actually eat gluten and you have a symptom and a reaction to it that is non-celiac related. And so being that's a pretty alarming statistic, it's kind of safe to say that, so many people are reacting to it. It's just like with peanut allergies, right? It's something that makes you think, if so many people react and it's so damaging to so many people's health, then it probably makes sense that we should just ultimately avoid it altogether. And so gluten is definitely one of those foods you want to avoid. One of the things you want to keep in mind with gluten is the term browse, BROWS. Barley, rye, oats, wheat, and spelt. Those are going to have the highest amount of gluten, okay? And then dairy. This can be a tricky one. With my clients, I have to meet them somewhere in the middle. Sometimes I will leave in a little bit of goat cheese or sheep cheese into their programs, especially if that's the one crutch where someone just needs a little bit of cheese on their plan every now and again. I might just leave it in, because let me tell you, it will not affect their weight loss efforts. They actually lose weight no matter what, whether I take the dairy out or leave it in. But if they come to me with certain symptoms and issues, then I may actually take it out. So barley, let me write this out for you guys because there's a question. Barley, rye, oats, although you can get gluten-free oats. Just make sure it says gluten-free. There you go. Barley, rye, oats, wheat, spelt, browse. Keep that in mind. Those are the ones that contain the most amount of gluten. Now, you're going to find gluten in different condiments, ketchup and mustard, so many different products. It can come in the form of hundreds of different ingredients. So you really do have to be conscious of it. But ideally, I mean, in my case, I don't eat grains. I don't eat gluten. I make half the stuff on my own, right? So I the chances of me eating gluten are pretty slim, unless, of course, I go out to a restaurant and I know that it's not gluten-free. Then yeah, there's probably some contamination in there, or it is just completely gluten. And it's not to say that I'm 100% gluten-free, but being that I'm trying to reverse autoimmunity and Hashimoto's in the past few months, I've been super conscious of it. But it's snuck into my diet here and there. Of course, it happens. It's what you do most of the time that counts. And it really does depend on what your symptoms are and how you're really feeling. Goat cheese and goat milk kefir. So yeah, I'm going to talk about dairy in just 1 second. Does sprouted make a difference? It really doesn't. Sprouting, here's what I mean. Yes, sprouting will make a difference because it actually increases the absorbability of the grains that have been sprouted, but it doesn't take out gluten. If it's sprouted and it's still gluten, it's still gluten. So if you are gluten intolerant or you're trying to avoid gluten, then you want to avoid sprouted, unless it says gluten-free. That's important. Okay, so dairy. Here's the thing with dairy. It's not the fat that's the issue, because the fat is actually fine. You want to eat high fat dairy. It's there. The high fat is there for a reason. We don't have skim milk cows. We don't have 1% cows. We have full milk cows, full fat cows. That is why, that's how nature naturally produced it. We need that fat. So the fat isn't the issue, even though lactose isn't really the issue. Although some people can't break down lactose. So that's one thing. But for the most part, lactose isn't really even the issue. And then there's hormones. Yes, they play a really big role. But even if you're getting antibiotic and hormone-free dairy, there's still natural hormones that is in milk, that milk contains. It has 60 different hormones, naturally occurring hormones, regardless if there's added hormones or not. There's going to be testosterone, there's going to be progesterone, there's going to be insulin and growth hormone. That is naturally occurring in dairy, no matter what, even if you buy hormone-free. The real issue lies in the A1 casein, which is a protein, A1 casein. So this protein actually damages the digestive tract, it increases inflammation, and it profoundly disturbs periods. If I have women that come to me with intense period problems and PMS, the dairy 100% has to go out of the diet. So it's the A1 casein that is the issue. Now, with that said, some people don't actually react to the A1 casein. And there's no true test to tell this, but what you can do is look back on your childhood, and if you suffered with a lot of tonsillitis or ear infections or chest infections, then yeah, there's probably a good case that you were reacting to A1 casein and dairy. So I would eliminate it if you have period pain, endometriosis, fibroids, definitely acne that's just not clearing up, PMS, and PCOS. Goat milk cheese or sheep milk cheese or kefir from goat or sheep is less inflammatory, and it doesn't contain that A1 casein protein. That's specifically with cow dairy. But some people may still be reacting to the goat or the sheep. So you kind of have to test it out for yourself. You really end up becoming your own guinea pig. Okay. And then the sugar. I think ultimately we're all very aware of this. I don't even want to go, too deep into this, but the fat isn't making us fat. It's the sugar that's making us fat. And it's not just the sugar that we might add into a coffee or a tea. It's carbohydrates in general. They all break down into sugar in your body. So if you're waking up every day and eating a bagel for breakfast, you're eating sugar. Bagels and breads and pasta and rice and grains, and it's all carbohydrate. And if it's a diet high in carbohydrate, it's a diet high in sugar. So we really want to be conscious of our sugar intake. And then of course, if we're buying foods with added sugar in it, are you really drinking coffee and tea and putting all the sugar in it? And raw honey is great, but it's still sugar. Maple syrup is great. It's still sugar. So we have to really be conscious of these things, especially It all comes down to your goals. What is the ultimate goal? If you are dealing with autoimmune issues, gut issues, period issues, PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, fatigue, cortisol, weight, inflammation, then that's where you might have to really level up your health and take these things out of your diet completely. It's the only way you're going to know how you feel without them. It's the only way. So let's dive into healing foods. The top 5 hormone healing foods. Number 1 is bone broth, of course, because we want to support the gut if we want to support our health and we want to support our hormones. And bone broth is so important because it contains collagen, proline, glycine, glutamine, all these amazing amino acids that help heal the gut, heal the immune system, actually helps to heal your food intolerances, and can even reduce your cellulite. So, and not only that, when you support your gut and you start to heal leaky gut, which is what majority of us are dealing with, you can then now absorb and assimilate really essential minerals and antioxidants and vitamins. So bone broth will actually contain a lot of calcium and magnesium and phosphorus and sulfur, really important minerals that you can now absorb and assimilate into your body in a very easy way. So I don't know if you guys are making your own bone broth at home, or perhaps, now it's available at pretty much every health store and you can order it online. I really do encourage you to get that bone broth in. You can't get a vegan source of gelatin or a vegan source of collagen. You just can't. It is ultimately from animals. It's an animal source. Okay, that's important to note. Second, healthy fats, really important, especially your omega-3s, because they are anti-inflammatory. And there are some other things, other fats like your ghee and your grass-fed butter that I should add on here too, really supportive of your hormones. If your hormones need fat to function, so you want to get these fats into your diet. And it doesn't mean you need to go on some crazy ketogenic high-fat diet. It doesn't mean that. It just means you have to have a healthy amount of fat at every meal. That's important. Avocados, olive oil, salmon, nuts and seeds, ghee, grass-fed butter, these are all really essential. And they're going to supply you with a healthy omega-3s and also healthy omega-9s, which is what you get from olive oil. And of course, if you are eating like fish and things like that, you want to make sure it's really super high quality. How long do you simmer the bone broth? Minimum, probably 12 hours. Minimum 12 hours. Max, you can go 24, 36. I mean, you can just keep going with that. Yeah, but a minimum 12 hours. Maybe if you have a slow cooker, that I find is one of the easiest ways to cook it, because you can just set it and forget it and put it in your slow cooker. Okay, healing food number 3, medium chain fatty acids, which are your coconut oil, your MCTs, any coconut products, really, coconut cream and coconut milk. This is what's going to provide you with those MCTs, those medium chain triglycerides. It's really important to get these into your body because you utilize MCTs as an energy source, which is really great. It really fuels your cells. And more importantly, it supports your blood sugar. So if you're craving sugar and you're craving some carbohydrates, take a spoonful of coconut oil if you've got that little sugar craving that keeps coming on at nighttime. Get the coconut oil in. And on top of that, it contains lauric acid, which is really antibacterial. It's really great for supporting gut health as well. So it's a really great fat that we want to incorporate. And a little bit, I mean, I know it could kind of go with healthy fats, but it's kind of in its own little category. Okay, number 4 is citrus, because citrus is really high in vitamin C. And vitamin C is incredibly important for supporting liver detoxification. And if we are dealing with a lot of stress, which is now in turn affecting estrogen and thyroid, we got to go back to supporting our liver, because that's where we metabolize our hormones and we flush out the excess hormones in the body that's building up. And vitamin C supports phase 1 and phase 2 liver detoxification. So it's really important to get citrus in. And this is really easy because you can have your lemon water, right? And of course, you can supplement with vitamin C as well. That's obviously a simple way to do it too. If you are on medications though, just be careful with things like grapefruit because it can impact how you absorb your medications, something that to keep top of mind. But otherwise, getting in that citrus is really important. But not just citrus, it's really vitamin C. So high antioxidant berries, your dark leafy greens, that's going to provide you with a lot of vitamin C as well. Okay, and lastly, cruciferous veggies. So you may have heard how certain compounds in cruciferous veggies can negatively affect the thyroid. And if you are eating them raw, they're going to affect the thyroid. Here's what I can tell you. You would have to eat copious amounts, like pounds and pounds of it, for it to have a negative effect on your thyroid. It will not affect your thyroid negatively. What we hear like these goitrogens, compounds in these cruciferous veggies, what you want to do is ultimately cook them. Maybe you want to roast them, you want to steam them, you want to saute them, and make sure you have them with some really good healthy fats because the fats will help you absorb all those good minerals and vitamins from the cruciferous veggies. So I love roasting my veggies. I love making different stir fries. But specifically why you want cruciferous veggies is one, because it has lots of fiber. And fiber is going to help bind to excess estrogen and flush it out of your bowels, which is important. And it contains indole-3 carbonyl, I3C, which supports liver detoxification and supports hormonal health. Really important. So some other things I really want you to keep in mind. These are proven strategies for reducing your stress. Like 100% proven. Now, I know the first one there says manage your stress. Okay, I get that. Easier said than done, right? All of these tools, all of these strategies here help you manage your stress. That's what they do. But what I'm really talking about here is being conscious of how you're reacting to the stressors in your life. Like, is every single little thing throwing you off your game? Is every single little thing causing you to overreact? That's what I'm really talking about here. It's really trying to be conscious and managing your reactions and your mental and emotional state to some of these stressors in your life. Because here's the thing, guys, we don't have much control over many things that happen to us. Some of them very tragic, some of them more simpler with work or whatever, paperwork, boss, work, like, in the grand scheme of things, we don't have that much control over these things that may show up in our lives. Now, we always have a choice of how we deal with it, and that's ultimately what we have control over. So you choose how you react to these things. If you're showing up to work every single day, pissed off, and you hate your job, and you've been doing it for 25 years, that is chronic stress. That is going to break down your body. So that's when you now have a choice to potentially look into doing something else that lights you up, finding another job. Or if you're not, then you have to change your attitude to how you actually show up to your work every day. So we all have a choice, but ultimately there's a lot of things out of our control. The one thing in our control is the food we put on our plate, how we feed our bodies, how we move our bodies. We actually have control over that. So it's so important that we don't take that for granted. Getting quality sleep. I really want you guys to create a sleep routine and shut down the electronics, an hour before you go to bed. Do not bring your phone into the bedroom with you. Do not use it as your alarm clock. Get another clock that is going to be used as your alarm. Or if you have to use your phone, put it in airplane mode. You can still use the alarm that way. It still works that way. But be really conscious of creating this nighttime routine. You want your bedroom to be cool. You want to sleep in a very, very dark room. This is what's going to support your melatonin production so that you can actually sleep through the night. And if you're highly stressed, there's a good chance you're not sleeping well. So you really got to put the energy and make it a priority to focus on your sleep. That has been one area for me that I have to be super conscious of. because I have a really, really busy brain at night. And I could be because I've got, issues going on with cortisol and stress and whatnot, I can be like tired and wired at night. So I got to be really conscious of that. And I have a sleep routine, and I'm really conscious of sticking to that and winding down for the night, getting off my phone, bringing a good book into bed, and really settling down for the night. Drink plenty of water. This is essential for supporting constipation, lubricating your joints, helping with any type of skin issues, and supporting liver detoxification. You want to drink roughly half your body weight in ounces. So if you're doing a lot of hot yoga and you're really active, then you probably want to drink more. My clients drink probably anywhere from 3 to 4 liters a day, myself included. So you want to start supporting your weight loss efforts. You want to shed a few pounds and that bloat, drink more water. And I know sometimes we think it's counterintuitive that drinking more water is going to make us really bloated. And here's another thing. You can't just down all this water all at one time. It can't be like 8 o'clock at night and you're like, oh, I didn't drink any water today. And you go and drink 2 liters. You will not absorb the water into your body. It needs to be sipped throughout the day. So you really need to start being conscious of that. Play dates, really important. Where are you having fun in your life? Do you like to go dancing? Do you love movies? Do you like to go to Chapters and just walk around and read books? Do you like to go for bike rides? Do you want to go kayaking? I say these things because these are things I love. And it's important that I schedule them in. If it's not scheduled, it's not real. And I really have to make them a part of my everyday routine. And so scheduling in play dates is really key. Of course, exercise. You have to move your body, and moving your body is actually going to help with constipation and bowel movements, which is key. And it's going to support bone density. It's going to help insulin management. Specifically, you want to weight train. You want to lift those weights. That's what's going to have the biggest impact on your weight, on your bone density, on your hormones, and physically transforming your body. Let's also be conscious of environmental toxins, okay? Are we slathering on all of this crazy body care and makeup that is loaded with parabens and SLS and toxins and things we can barely pronounce? Because that accumulates in your body and your body holds on to those toxins. And it is wild how those toxins start to now impact our immune system and our gut and our brain and our heart and our hormones and fertility and everything. So be really conscious of that. Lastly, one of the best strategies for reducing stress is to have more sex. Yes, because when you are having sex, it is the number one way to lower cortisol, increase dopamine, increase serotonin, those feel-good hormones, and produce estrogen and produce progesterone. So it is such a healthy way to reduce stress. And it's just like any other muscle that you have to work and train. The more that you have it, the more you ultimately will want it, because you will start to produce more of those good hormones and those feel-good neurotransmitters that you will actually start to crave it. Like, sex needs to literally become one of those tools in your stress reducing toolbox. Okay, so we're getting to the end here. I really appreciate you guys staying on. I've got a few more slides here. Test, don't guess. This is the testing that I use in my practice. It's called the Dutch urine test. What it does is basically you pee on a bunch of strips, you let them dry, you ship them in, and we test those strips for different metabolites in your urine. Doing a blood test for hormones isn't very effective. You want to test it through saliva or you want to test it through urine. And if you're on the birth control pill, it makes 0 sense to test your hormones. You won't know you can't tell anything. So you want to get off the pill, start to support your body and rebalance those hormones, and then do some testing. But if you're on the pill, it makes no sense. So the Dutch test is really great. This is, again, what I use in my practice. And what we're looking at is things like your cortisol, your melatonin even, which is great, your androgen, so like testosterone. And then, of course, basic hormones like DHEA, estrogen, progesterone. It even shows estrogen metabolites and cortisol metabolites. So it's a really simple test to do. What is the name of your website? Holisticwellness.ca. And so I really love incorporating this test in my practice. And what we do is, get women to do the testing, and then we work together to actually create a customized meal plan that's going to match what's going on with their hormones, a supplement protocol, lifestyle tips, and perhaps even some other protocols, like maybe they need to include some colonics or some acupuncture. And then we just put together this actual strategy and protocol that's really going to bring these hormones back into balance and really support the system as a whole. So testing is really important because then you're not guessing, right? That's the most important thing. Test, don't guess. Then when you know exactly where the hormones are imbalanced, you know exactly what to address versus trying to take all these supplements and nothing's working. So if you guys really want to dive into really supporting your hormonal health, whether that might be healing your period and your cycle, or PCOS, the weight, thyroid, adrenals, and stress, all of it, I want you guys to know that the Healthy Hormone Intensive program is coming. There is only one of me, and I can only work with so many people in private practice and one-on-one. So I'm taking this and creating an online group coaching program. So this is going to be launching later in October. And we're going to have webinars where we're diving into these topics way deeper. And we're truly going to address healing your PMS and your PCOS and really reversing these diseases. Like 100%, we want to reverse these. So what we're going to do is there's going to be a 4-phase breakdown and understanding of your cycle. So your follicular stage, your ovulation, your luteal, your menstruation. And within that, we're also going to look at adrenal health and thyroid health and gut health and liver detoxification. So we're really addressing all of these areas that support your hormones. And there will be like a 4-phase cycle meal plan and recipes. So it's important to know that there are foods that you should be eating during the follicular stage, during the ovulation, during luteal, during menstruation. So I want to give you guys all of that and some gut healing protocols. There's going to be actual supplement protocols and strategies and the brands that I really recommend for you guys to take. And there will be optional hormone testing. So for those who want to join the program, just the program, you can. And there will be optional hormone testing if you want to add that on when you join the program. So that is coming later in the fall. The fact that you guys are already signed up for this webinar and you're on this list, you'll be notified about details about that. The costs are going to be basically like 2/3 the price that you would pay coaching with me one-on-one, which is great. I really want it to be completely feasible and accessible for everybody. So if you haven't joined the 7-Day Hormone Detox Challenge, because maybe you're thinking, well, what do I do now? There's all this great information. How do I actually apply it? What do I go eat? Where do I start? You can start by joining the 7-Day Hormone Detox Challenge. It's 100% free. Vanessa, if you can actually come in there and share the link, that would be really great. And you guys can go ahead and join this program. It is a 7-day program where you have specific recipes all laid out for you, and you have so you have your meal plan, you have all of your recipes, you have this sort of little 4-day mini cleanse that you kind of start out with, and we really dive into things like supporting your adrenals and really addressing the stress and the hormones and the cravings. And following the 7-day program is really going to help sort of recalibrate your system. That's what we really want to do here. We really want to recalibrate and reset the system so that less cravings, less brain fog, better sleep, more energy in the morning, less PMS cramps. Now, it's not something you can completely eradicate in 7 days, but we want to start that process. So join the challenge. It's completely free. And you can start it whenever it's right for you. That's what's great. You don't have to start this immediately. If you're like, oh my God, I have all these events and all these things coming up this week, no problem. Just sign up anyways, get the information and start it when it's right for you. And then you'll also be able to join our free Facebook, our private group, so that if you've got more questions, you can post it in the group. Plus, I'll be there supporting you guys with posting some other recipes and a whole bunch of other stuff. So Oh my God, Anna, you're so sweet. Samantha has changed my life. I started on her plan approximately 5 to 6 months ago and I've lost close to 60 pounds. Oh my God, Anna, you're amazing. I thank you so much for sharing that and for being on here tonight. Anna has been one of my rock star clients. She has just been so committed to her health, and it's really, I'm super grateful that I get to work with women who want to show up for themselves in such a bigger way. And it's incredible what Anna has achieved in literally 5, 6 months. She has lost 60 pounds, you guys. Her transformation photos are up on my website, and she literally looks like 15 years younger. It's crazy. And she really does have this like newfound sense of, you know, joy and energy that she didn't have before. So I'm super proud of you, Anna. Thank you for sharing that. That's so sweet of you. And if you guys want to get started with your own transformation and healing, come join me in the 7-day hormone detox challenge. And that is the end. We went 90 minutes. I really appreciate your guys' showing up and for being honest and sharing your questions, which is really important, in your comments. And if you join us in the Detox Challenge group, you'll be able to post more information and comments and questions there so that we can further support you guys. So thank you so much. It really means a lot that you showed up tonight. You showed up for your health. You showed up for your life in a really big way. This is the first step, right? It just takes diving in. It takes like taking that step forward and like getting that knowledge and getting that information. Because when you have the knowledge and you have that information, it allows you to have more clarity to move forward. So thanks for being here with me tonight. It was 90 minutes. I hope that was okay. And all the information in the replay will be sent out to everybody. So if there's stuff that you want to go back and make more notes on or listen to, you will receive all of that information. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys being here with me tonight. It really means a lot. Go to bed early, drink your water, and put that phone away. And it's time to turn off your computer and your laptop. All right. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Come find me over on Instagram. I love hanging out there. My holistic, my handle over on Instagram is Holistic Wellness Foodie, and I always post a lot of information there. And there's always Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives, tons of blog posts over on my website, and recipes if you guys are looking for more support. So there's no shortage of information and ways to access and contact me. All right. Have a great night, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good night.